Hello everyone, I'm James and welcome to the first episode of the OpenGL tutorial series. Today we're going to learn how to make a window and set up a project for OpenGL. Opening a window is easy. In my case, all I have to do is slide it. Oh wait, this is the wrong kind of window. Damn it. Creating a window on the computer is a bit more difficult. This is because every operating system has its own windowing system. Thankfully, there are libraries written such as SDL and glfw which makes programming windows a lot easier and also platform independent. In this tutorial series I will be using SDL. Let's go ahead and download SDL and set it up in a new C++ project. The first thing I'm going to do is create the C++ project. As a template, I'll choose a console application and obviously I'll be doing it in C++. I'm going to name it OpenGL tutorial and create. I'm going to delete all this stuff and I'm going to move it outside of the filter. I'm going to delete these folders because I never actually use them. You can use them if you want, but I don't use them. I'm going to rename this file to the main file. And I'm going to return 0. I don't know why that doesn't come by default. If we run, there we go, we get hello world. So we're ready to start setting up SDL. There are three libraries that we need to install. The first one is SDL. SDL is a library that creates a window and does a bunch of other things like input and sound if you really want to. We're going to just be using it for the windowing. Then there's glew. Glew is used so that we can communicate with the GPU using OpenGL. Finally, there's glm, which is a simple math library that is very good and I find that it works really well in certain projects. Also, we don't need to write any math ourselves because it's already in this library. I have a bit of a confession to make. I never installed or set up glew and SDL in another operating system or in another IDE other than Visual Studio. You despicable monster! Relax, man, relax! Alright? I'll be putting links in the description on how to install SDL and glew in other IDEs. Hopefully that's good enough. No, it's not! Holy shit! Who turned the lights off? Oh. Well, that escalated a little too much, didn't it? Okay, so I'll be showing you how to set up SDL, glew and glm in Visual Studio on Windows. So, first thing you need to do for SDL is download this one, SDL2 Devil, and the one that has VC at the end. That one is the one for Visual Studio. In glew, click on Binaries, Winters to End 64-bit, and then you should get a download shortly after. For glm, all you need to do is download the code from GitHub. The links to all of these websites will be in the description. Okay, so now that we have all the folders downloaded, let's start setting them up. First thing I'm going to do is go in the OpenGL tutorial solution, go into the project OpenGL tutorial, the folder of the project, and I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it include. This is where I'll put all the headers in. So let's start with SDL. I'm going to grab the include folder in the SDL folder. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it in the include folder and I'm going to rename this to SDL2. Now glue is next. So go to glue, grab the include, and actually you can grab the GL folder from inside. You can copy this and paste it in the include folder besides SDL2. There you go. As for GLM, it's also pretty simple. Go to GLM master, grab the GLM folder, copy it and paste it. Okay, so includes are done. Now to access these includes. Making the headers accessible in the Visual Studio project is actually pretty easy. First, right click on the project, go to properties, make sure you have all configurations and all platforms selected, go to C/C++, go to general and go edit the additional include directories. Add a new line and we're going to do /include. Now if we apply and if we try and do #include angular brackets SDL2, as you can see we have access to the SDL header, and this applies in the same way to GLM, which we can access right here, and glue. However, although the headers are accessible, SDL2 and OpenGL, glue, won't work with just including the headers. We need to link the static libraries. So now let's install the libraries. Let's begin with SDL2. There is a lib folder here. Inside it there are two folders, one is x86 and one is x64. Now, if you're going to compile an x86 application, grab the x86 folder. If you're going to use x64, as I'm going to do, use the x64 folder. So in the x64 folder there are these files, and it's the same in the x86. There's one DLL and 3.lib files. We're going to copy the lib files for now. And we'll go in the solution, go to the project folder. We're going to create a new folder in the x64 folder called lib, and actually I did that off screen. So that's done. Now for the DLL, this one is a bit more special. We're going to copy it as well. We're going to go in the solution folder. We're going to go into x64 and in the debug folder, and I also did that off screen. Here's the SDL2.dll. Now when we build in release mode, when we build the Visual Studio project in release mode, we'll get another folder called release for release mode, and this is for debug for debug mode. And we'll need to copy that SDL2 folder in the release folder as well. If you compile to x86, you will then need the x86 SDL2.dll in the x86 debug folder and release folder. I know it's a bit of a chore, but it's important. So now for glue. Glue is a bit simpler. We'll need to go in the lib folder as well, release, and once again there's a 32-bit and 64-bit folder. I'm going to use the 64-bit again, obviously, because I'm compiling in x64, and all we need to do is copy these folders, these lib files, and I'm going to go into the OpenGL tutorial project folder inside the x64 lib and paste the glue libraries in there. So now we need to tell Visual Studio to use those libraries. First thing you need to do, right click again on the project. This time select x64, it's very important, don't do all platforms, do x64, but leave the configurations to all configurations. Now go into the linker folder, go into the general folder, and in additional library directories, add /lib. Next thing, in the input, additional dependencies. We need to add a bunch of additional dependencies here. These are the additional dependencies you need. We need glue32s.lib, sdl2.lib, sdl2main.lib, sdl2test.lib, and finally OpenGL32.lib, which is kind of hidden. You don't see it in the glue folder, in the lib folder. There's no OpenGL32, but you still need to link to it. It's a bit funny, I know. Let me double check that we've done everything. Okay, good thing I checked. Back in the properties, in linker general, we placed the lib folder in the x64 folder, so make sure you add that to the path. Also, if you don't add these two parameters, SDL2 won't work. It will give you a linker error. Now, if we run, we get hello world, but we're not doing anything with SDL or with glue.
First, I'll remove the hello world. Let us begin by initializing SDL. To do this, we need to call the SDL init function. This takes one parameter which tells SDL which components to initialize, such as audio and video. To be safe, we'll initialize everything. This function returns 0 if SDL initializes correctly. So I'll add an if statement, the condition checking if the result of SDL init is equal to 0. So that will only execute if SDL initializes correctly. Before we forget, let us quit SDL at the end. If you run the program right now, you won't get anything. Our main target is to get a window. So let us create a window with SDL. It's actually pretty easy. All we have to do is call SDL create window. This takes 6 parameters. The first parameter is the window title, which I'll set to test. The next 2 parameters specify the position of the window. I'll set them both to SDL window pos centered, which is a special value which will place the window in the center of the screen. The next 2 parameters are the width and height, which I'll set to 800 by 600. The final parameter is interesting. SDL windows can be used in several different ways. We're going to use the window with OpenGL. To do this, we'll pass in SDL window OpenGL. This function also returns a pointer to the window we've just created, so I'll store the function result in a variable named window. And before we forget, let us destroy the window before we quit SDL. If we run right now, the program will exit immediately, but you might have seen a window for a split second. To stop the program from exiting, I'll add a while true loop right after we create the window. If you run the program now, you should be able to see the window. However, the window is completely frozen. This is because we haven't handled any events yet. To start handling events, we need to call SDL poll event. All the events that occur get stored in a queue internally. When the queue of events is not empty, the SDL poll event function returns a number greater than 1, and 0 when the queue is empty. I'll create another while loop in the while true loop. The condition of the while loop will be the result of SDL poll event, so now the program will keep polling events when there are events available. The SDL poll event function also takes in one parameter, which is a pointer to an SDL event. To make this work, we'll create a variable of type SDL event, which I'll call E. We'll pass the address of E to the SDL poll event function. We don't need to initialize variable E because SDL poll event will initialize it with the first event in the event queue. If you run the program right now, you will get the window again, but now it's not frozen anymore. However, pressing the close button won't work. We are polling events, but we're never handling them. There are many kinds of events which we'll probably handle in the future. In this video, we'll just handle the window close event. To make this work, we'll need to create a boolean variable to keep track if the window is closed or not. In fact, I'll call the variable isClosed. I'll set the value of isClosed as false initially. We'll change the condition of the outer while loop to not isClosed. So the loop will only exit when isClosed is true. Now to handle the window close event, we'll create a switch statement in the inner loop. We'll switch on the value of e.type, which is the type of the event. We only care about one kind of event, which is SDL quit. So when the event is SDL quit, we'll set the isClosed variable to true. Remember to add a break statement.
Let's see if it works. And there we have a window. We can move it, and look at that. It closed down automatically. Awesome. And that is all for today. We've set up a window. We didn't do anything with it except for poll the events. Yeah, that's it for today. I know it's a bit annoying, just a bloody window. But we have to start from somewhere, so yeah. So, in the next video, we're going to render the first triangle. Yes, we're going to actually get something on that window. And with that, that's the end of the video. Yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and so that if you want to be notified when the next video is released, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that you will be notified when the video comes out. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.